So what I need to do now is I'm going to make a more pointy tip, what they call a cuneate tip. Take off these sides here so it becomes more of a needle tip. Deepen these notches, okay? And then call it good. And now I think I'm going to take my time on this stage as well. I was rushing it just before the last video cut out. Let's see, let's get a close-up of what this looks like. I'm not going to mess with these step fractures in here because they run into the heat damage. They're not just step fractures, but they are revealing the heat fractures. You know what I mean? The heat fractures were in there to begin with, and when I start flaking into those heat fractures, it leaves incomplete flaking. So it's revealing where the heat fracturing is. I've also got a heat fracture here on this side, but I can't do anything about that one either. But overall, it looks like a functional blade. The only worry is this part there. It might not be able to take any stress. Although this side looks okay. No issues in this stem area. This stem blade junction, there's not too many issues. All right. So I'm going to do the notching and the stem first. Spatula tool. All right, let's focus on this. What do I need to do? I need to start pressure flaking on the correct side. The side that has the better angle. Supposedly. Nothing's happening. Let's see. Let's take a pointier tool. See if we can push off a flake without messing everything up. Yes? No? No? The copper's too soft? Yeah. The copper is behaving too softly for this. So I gotta cheat a little bit by taking off a flake in the opposite direction and then push off on that bulb what little there is. Oops. It released too soon. And now I'm back to the pressing on the thick area that was giving me trouble. The problem with pressing on a thick area really, really hard is it can blow out that barb. And right now, if I blow out that barb, I am not going to be too happy. I need that barb. I need that barb to be good, to behave, to cooperate. Now, that they make Duran points this big, that's a good question. I don't know. I wish I knew. We're going to assume that this is going to be an art piece if they didn't. If they didn't make Duran points this big, I'm going to assume and call this an art piece. There. Problem solved. This copper is working okay, even though we started out seemingly ineffective. It seems to be doing all right. Although steel is knapping this easier than the copper. It's easier to push off flakes with the steel than with the copper, but the copper is doing all right. Why don't I go back to steel since it's easier? Just impatience. I don't want to switch back and forth. I'm right in the middle of this. I'm right in the middle. I was just watching a video while I was eating a snack between videos. I watched another video. where I was watching a Native American talk about patience. And in his tribe, they stress patience. Patience in everything. Cherokee, he was a full-blooded Cherokee. So patience in everything carries over to Flintknapping, obviously. So I could say that it supports my theory that they took their time. At least some of the tribes had a culture that would be focused on patience. Right? But that's not the way our knowledge advances. So I'm still looking to see if there's a criticism or a refutation of the idea that they took their time. Yeah, I could find support that people in general, or even specific tribes, practiced patience and deep understandings of various things, various skills. But I want to see if there's an exception, or even if there, I mean, not even. I want to see if there is definite exceptions to that rule. Some cultures might be so mobile and so adaptive that they stress expediency. They stress, or they focus on practicality. What's more practical? You don't have to be focused too much on patience and slow, deliberate action. You can be fierce and expedient and practical. And some might say, yeah, you can do both. Don't have to just focus on one. But, you know, I'm just saying, you can focus. Just because you can do both, yeah, doesn't mean you can't focus on one. Yeah, sure, you can be both. You can be fierce and practical and adaptive and patient, detailed, and so forth at the same time. Yeah, I know, but I want to see if there's evidence of cultural practicality. A culture of practicality and expediency. And that might be reflected in the way that they do their projectile points. They may just look kind of wonky and cruddy, but what they're doing is just being expedient. That kind of thing. If a culture is into patience and skillful activities, how do you explain some of the points that are all wonky? Finish points in some cultures. Ooh, that was risky. That pop out was big, and it missed both sides of that notch. Thank goodness. All right, I can't be doing too many of those. Oh. So what do I do? What do I do if that happens? I just keep going, right? What I can do is I don't know, I can leave it that way. Yeah. Let's just clean it up. Yeah, it's a little bit lopsided, but oh well. How did that happen? Too much pressure. Too much pressure on the pressure flaker. There's nothing wrong with the material right there, so I can't blame it on the material. It's perfect in that area. I just put way too much pressure. I applied way too much pressure. All right. Now what I can do is I can make the other side symmetrical. You know, I can even up the other side with this mistake. Make it symmetrical and make it look like it's not a mistake. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Take out that other middle barb, or whatever it's called. Yeah, it's gonna hurt, but oh well. It's an art piece. Like I told you. I told you. Right? Did I tell you? I can't remember. I can't remember. Why are you so happy-go-lucky, you might say, about that big mistake? I'm not. It bugs me. But I can't do anything about it other than making doo-doo with what I got. I mean, making do with what I got. So what's it going to look like? It's a mystery. What is it going to look like? It's going to look like I dropped it. Yeah. Goodness. It gives me opportunities that I didn't have before to get rid of some of the lumps. Yeah. Not all is lost. Let's see what I can do. Not be too greedy, but I might be able to get rid of some of the lumpage. Some of the lumpage. All right, let's see. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to be too greedy. That's good. Very nice. All right, so we still got a ways to go. I'm going to be more careful this time. I'm going to still put notches in it. Yep. All right, so this time the notches are going to be a little bit more further apart. But I'm still going to put notches up in the upper blade. They're just going to be a little bit further apart, just a little bit. See, I'm going to make this a little bit thicker or wider. Oh, gosh. I just blew away some of that. Anyway. make it a little bit wider, I think. Oh, it's not wider, but oh well. I tried. I'm still in a hurry. That's my excuse. All right, before we go too far on that side, let's go to this side. Yeah, it's tough. I gotta use a lot of pressure. Let's see, so I gotta use a lot of pressure. I need to make the bottoms of these notches a little bit more sharp. Let's see. Why do I gotta make them more sharp? It just looks better. Yeah, it's harder to accomplish, but it looks better, I think. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, let's see what we can do. See what we can do. This is the kind of napping I was doing at the Knapping. Kind of tired, kind of exploratory, using materials I hadn't napped very much in the past. I'm crushing the bottom of the notch. I don't like crushing the bottom of the notch. Seems like I'm doing it more. How do you avoid crushing the bottom of the notch? You just got to get good at doing the pop-outs and not the scrunchies or the crunches. And using the tool effectively is the key. See, what I want to do is I want to maintain the line, although it's not very good. I want it to maintain a line here in line with this and then in line with that. I can still take some off of this to be in line with the base. I mean the stem. That one's a little bit better here. I still got to deepen that one, but this is a little bit better. But if I keep them in line, it looks a little bit better, I think. We'll see. So yeah, this is a lot of damage control to try to come up with a good shape. It almost is starting to look like an effigy. Of some sort, which is not a bad thing. if I make it look like it's got 4 legs, it will start to look like an effigy. Now that I think about it, okay, come on. Copper is not really good on the tough stuff. So I'm getting resistance to the pressure flaking. Why am I using it? I'm using it so that I can get some nice long flakes when I'm doing the pressure flaking. In theory, when I do that, I should be getting nice long flakes, but that one ran into some internal issue. Yeah. Come on. I just had a question, or I just answered a question recently on what tools do I recommend for beginners. And I told them I recommend copper for beginners for all the tools. And you can see that there is difficulty with copper on the hard to nap stuff. But even with that handicap, I still recommend copper for beginners. All the tools made of copper, that way you get used to copper. You get used to the tool material for the tool tips, because you not only have to become adjusted to the tool stone, you have to become adjusted to the tool tip material. Both of them work together. Translucency is not really there. Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do is deepen the 2 notches a little bit and then finish the tip. And try to keep it in frame. Yeah, much easier to push off a flake with the steel. Yep. And I'm pushing in with the front of the spatula tool. Front edge. And it's going to end up looking like a lizard effigy. Yeah. Which is not a bad thing. Okay. Okay. Where are you? I know I got a file in here somewhere. Yeah, but not easily accessible. I was going to sharpen the tip of the copper pressure flaker so that I can run narrow flakes, but I'm just going to push downward and not worry about sending flakes in. Not worry about sending the flakes in. Now, it doesn't really look like a lizard's head when you sharpen the tip like this, but it does something to the balance, the overall balance of the point. it makes it look less top heavy when you reduce the tip. I think it makes it look a little bit more balanced. And maybe the needle tip can symbolize the tongue of the lizard. Maybe, if you use your imagination. Yeah, you can use your imagination in flint knapping. Can I make those barbs look like little feet a little bit better? That's a good idea. I can try maybe to put little notches, little serrations in there to represent little toes. Glad you thought of it. This is taking a while because I want to make sure I don't mess this up and come up with something that's not symmetrical. I gotta watch the symmetry. It's very easy to mess up the symmetry at this point because you can't add to it. If you take off too much off of one side, you've got to take off stuff from the other side. I want this to be a functional effigy. All right, it's got to look like it can be used as a projectile point. Even if it might not be used as a projectile point. It's got to look like it can be. It's got to be sharp. I'm encountering some crushing there. Difference in material from one side to the next. That's my excuse. Just makes it a little bit harder to sharpen. Okay, one of these days. I'll stop messing with it one of these days. Here we go. I'm just trying to sharpen it, that's all. And keep the symmetry. Okay. As you can see, sharpening and symmetry at the same time is hard to maintain. Because as soon as I take back the edge to trim it down to get it symmetrical, it starts to get dull because I'm only pushing downward. Okay, that's enough for that. Now I'm going to do just a little bitty serration on the two little serrations on the tips to represent little fingers or whatever. No, it's not going to work. Let's see. Can I do it? Yeah, but not without crushing. There's a little bit in there. Yeah, all right. So it's just an effigy type point. Good enough. Good enough. Let's see. Okay.